John saw him as a great dragon trying to destroy God's church. As far back as we go in pagan idolatry, the symbol of the serpent was the symbol of those who worship the sun. From Babylon to Palestine to Persia, the serpent became a supreme symbol of deity. We know that in Asia it represented the energies of nature. In India it represented many aspects of God, as in Egypt where it represented the chaos, the energies where life came from. It represented the urea, the sacred asp. Here on Nefertiti's hat we see the urea, the sacred asp. The cherubim with wings protected the pharaoh, and even Tutankhamun had two little serpents with wings beside him. It represents the gates of the soul, or the spirit itself from dead. It represented the spirit of the sun. And we find that the convoluted body of the serpent on the graves represented the transmigration of the soul. At Hatshepsut's temple tomb in Upper Egypt, we note a winged serpent with its body spiraling all the way to the sanctuary, representing that one must pass through the serpent to reach God. We know that in Central America, Mexico, and South America, the serpent was worshipped by the natives under the name of Quetzalcoatl or Kukulkan, both flying serpents representing the sun or the morning star. At Chichen Itza, the great temple there, has a stairway leading to the top of it that is bordered by two winged serpents. In Greece, the name of the serpent was Asclepius. He was a counterfeit healer, and he was worshipped all throughout the Greek Empire. Even the great god Apollo was equated with the serpent, as was Athena, the Greek goddess of war and wisdom. In Rome, the serpent became a symbol of healing, as well as the spiritual powers that carries the soul across the heavens at death. In Scandinavia, everything revolved around serpent symbolism. The ships were made into serpents and dragons, and the stave churches that these people worshipped in had carvings of serpents all over. At this stave church, I noticed that above the door was a body of a serpent with its neck forming the lattice work and great wings spread out on either side. One had to pass through this serpent door in order to get into the sanctuary. Here in Chinatown, you have to grab the handles of this serpent door to get into the business. And in Thailand, we find that on either side of many of the entranceways to the temples there are great serpents. This temple shows a winged dragon eagle, and a winged dragon lion handle, and a winged dragon goat handle, and finally a great winged dragon itself. These handles have to be pushed before the doors will open, but as one gets back from this sanctuary, you'll notice that it's not a pagan temple, but it's St. Mary's Cathedral in San Francisco, and the court is made of 3 rows of 6 crosses in each row. 6, 6, 6. The altar has 6 steps to the top of the sanctuary. Why are these pagan symbols still used in the church? The church has used them for so long that it knows nothing else but pagan symbolism. All through the years we find that the serpents are to be found in the churches, on our tombs and in the floors, or here in Westminster Cathedral above the head of Jesus. Most of the dragon serpents that we saw in one place were to be found in the Vatican, or the Divining Serpent Center. Here dragons looked at us from above graves, on floors, or on artwork. Even the canopy was copied from the ancient serpent pillar altars of the ancient world. Those great spiraling canopy pillars represented the serpent around the staff. The serpent represented the energies of both good and evil. And we see here 2 serpents holding up the cosmic egg. That egg is to be found at the top of Bernini's canopy as well. The ropes were used in paganism to symbolize the serpents, and we find them on the crests of the popes. In the large hall of Bernini in the Vatican, the church is symbolized by a great golden dragon. Down beneath the floors of St. Peter's Basilica in the crypts, we find that one of the popes that called himself Six has upon his tiara 6 serpents. The lightning bolt was a symbol of the serpent power, and the ancient gods were believed to be able to wield it. As far back as ancient Gilgamesh, we see that this lightning bolt was to be found in the hands of these pagan gods of Mesopotamia. Both the priests and the kings himself carried these divining rods. This Assyrian king from the British Museum holds with his hand a symbol that represents the roll of thunder and the flash of lightning. Osiris is shown holding serpents in his hand, and even Tutankhamun held the serpent staff in his hand. This Etruscan deity is holding a serpent in her hand, and even in the Greek religion, we see Athena holding a crozier in her hand. From the Acropolis, it's clear that that crozier is in fact a serpent. In the Mayan religions, the priests there carried these serpent croziers in their ceremonies, and we find that even in the Orient, in Japan, these little croziers, remnants of the divining rods, were held by prelates. Scandinavia had its serpent crozier as well, held by its priests. This Etruscan priest holds with his hand a spiraling crozier. In Mesopotamia, the priests there held croziers as well. And in Berlin, we photographed this crozier head from the land of Shinar. It has a serpent on the end of it, and this clearly has no relationship with the shepherd's staff, as the church claims. Her prelates carry these croziers even today, just as the ancient magicians and mystics did so many years ago. Many of them have serpent heads on them. Some are carved out of ivory, and still others are carved out of the bones of saints, making them more holy or more sacred. In the eastern part of the Catholic world, we find the croziers have two serpents' heads on them, like this crozier found on the island of Patmos. Some show floral designs representing the generating principle, as this, which is beside the throne of the Pope today. Priests and prelates carry these as a symbol that they control the energy forces of nature, irrespective of what they say. This was its original meaning, and here even St. Nicholas carries a serpent crozier in his hand, while this Jesuit prelate holds a double serpent crozier in his hand. Another form of the lightning bolt was as this god Adad holding up a three-pronged lightning bolt. That lightning bolt can be found in different forms. Here the god Neptune holds it as a great pitchfork. The pitchfork of Neptune can be seen even on the altars of Mithra, or Hindu deities, or Greek deities. And here we see this Greek deity holding a trident in a Catholic grave. And Jesus is shown here as having these tridents coming out of his head, while in St. Paul's Cathedral the trident is coming out of the corners of this cross. Another form of the trident is this blessing hand, seen on this cylinder seal 3,000 years before Christ. The Hindu gods are seen carrying it, and the Buddhist religion adopted this sacred symbol of the cosmos. These Egyptian priests are protecting themselves from the cosmic force by emulating it, by holding their hands in that form. The Spartan god holds it, as well as this Roman faun. And this Roman Caesar has that sacred symbol of the 666 god in his hand. In London, they excavated a statue of Apollo, the sun god, with that three-fingered symbol. Fingers were kept in pockets or hung around the neck to protect people from this satanic god that they believed had horns and a tail and a pitchfork. On the altars of Zeus, we find that this sacred hand was placed as a symbol of the cosmic forces. These votive hands, as they are called, can be seen in some of the great museums of Europe, showing an important part of the pagan worship. Richard Payne Knight donated his collection of sexual symbols to the British Museum, and one of the most important one was this hand representing the cosmos. Here we see the male and female finger raised up together, and the thumb as a generating principle with a pine cone on it. Around it is a serpent representing the energies, a goat's head, symbol of fertility, in the palm, and an altar with 3 wafers on it.